What's up guys, D-Libs here. Today we're going to be doing the complete Defender tier list for Year 9 Season 2 Operation New Blood. So obviously all of the nerfs, buffs, any changes that happened, including the addition of the new Defender Sentry, are going to be included in our decision making when putting together this tier list for the Defenders. We're going to do it just right along in order as you see them appear at the bottom of your screen, so we're going to start off with Alibi. I don't think anyone's really going to argue that Alibi is a game changer. She's kind of been stagnant in the game for many years now, and as she's been around for longer, she is becoming less effective, considering people are getting more and more used to the Prismas since they've been around for so long, so we're going to start off with Alibi in the C tier. I'd say Aruni right now, at the state that she's in, is probably just a balanced operator in that B tier. Nothing too crazy, you know, she's not necessarily the best operator to have, but definitely nowhere near the worst. Azami was obviously nerfed previously, but I still think she is one of the best operators in the game with how she manipulates any objective anywhere she wants on any map. I don't think the nerf did too much to her. I think she's going to be our first S tier addition. Bandit's another operator that's just balanced. Obviously, no one's going to say Bandit is overpowered. It's not like he does anything all that special, but he is really good to have always and a good loadout, so B is definitely what makes sense for him. I'm going to say Castle is a less than ideal operator to have, and I'm a big Castle enjoyer. He's one of my favorite operators to play, but I just think objectively you have to look at him and realize like he doesn't really bring all that much value to the team, especially with how many soft breach operators there are in this game now and how many different options the attackers have. You could definitely argue B tier, but no one's going to put him above the B tier, you know. I think C tier is just perfect. Now I'm not going to be too mean today, you know, I'm not going to be throwing a lot of operators in the D tier, so you know, I'm not going to put Cav down there. I understand. We're going to put her in the C tier. She is at the end of the day a really good roamer. It's just that her ability doesn't help out the team as much, especially when you're in the higher ranks. You're trying to find operators that bring utility and value to the team, so playing an operator like Cav on defense is similar to playing an operator like Nook on attack, where you're kind of just self-serving. You aren't really doing much good for your team, but I'll recognize that she is good in a lot of situations. We're going to put her in the C tier. I'm going to say Clash is probably, we'll go B tier. I'm going to say that she's pretty balanced, but it was enough for me to have to think about it with the A tier. You know, it was a decision there, so, but I think B tier is what makes sense. You know, Doc is a personal favorite of mine. I'm going to throw him up there in that A category, especially with how we've seen Thunderbird change, and, you know, even really with Rook. It shows how much you really need that health operator, and, you know, if you had to choose between the three that I just mentioned, you're going to choose Doc every single time. At least from my, you know, personal experience, that's pretty much the case. I think Doc's the best health operator in the game. I don't know if anyone's really going to deny that, and obviously a really great loadout as well. I think A category is what makes sense for him. Echo, I'm going to say, is balanced. I think obviously over the years he's had plenty of nerfs compared to how he was when he first came out. I don't think he's game breaking anymore. I don't think he's all that bad. Actually, I could understand if you put him in the C category, so I get it. I'm going to say he's balanced though. I'm going to place him in B. And speaking of being balanced, I think Ella is going to be the same exact, you know, sort of reasoning. I think she was really good when she first came out, same way as Echo, and she's had her fair share of nerfs over the years, and I'd say right now she just falls in that middle ground category. Fenrir, no doubt, is going up in that S tier. I don't know if anyone's really going to fight me on this one. I mean, he gets banned nearly every single ranked match, and he withstood a nerf from this last season. So when an operator is able to push through a nerf like that and still be able to hold on to the top, I think it just validates their position up there even more so. And you can see that both here with Azami and Fenrir, both going through some pretty big nerfs, and they're both still at the top. Frost, I'm going to say, is, I mean, either B or C for me. I think I'm going to go C, but I'd say most people would probably say B. The Frost rework just ruined everything. Like, she really is so much less useful than how she once was. It kind of changed the entire operator. So she definitely was not able to withstand her nerf that she had. But I do understand if you want to put her in B. I'm going to say that she probably fits in there with Castle, Cav, and Alibi. Goyo is going to go B, but I know that there's a lot of people that are really high on him right now, putting him in the A category. I don't think I can really bring myself to do that, as I'm not really a huge Goyo, you know, enjoyer, and I don't think he really belongs in the same level as Doc to me. I think he fits in here with all of these 5 other operators that are beside him. Now, Jaeger is definitely just in a very balanced spot in this game right now. Obviously, a few years ago, you put him at the top in the S category, but things have changed. There are, some operators that arguably do the same thing as him, but better. This isn't to take away what he does, though, because being in B isn't bad at all. This is where you're really supposed to be in the game. This is when Ubisoft feels like you're balanced, when they feel like the operator is in the right spot, so they're obviously trying to get most operators to this B category. So it only makes sense that Jaeger over the years would eventually end up here. Look, I think if you're going to put Bandit in the B tier, you're going to have to put Cade in the B tier too. Like, not one of them really stands out over the other, at least not objectively. Subjectively, you may, prefer the fast-paced MP7 over the AUG or, whatever it may be. I don't know. But I think that they're pretty much on the same level. I don't think you can put one over the other. I'm going to throw Kapkan in the A tier. I think, it's been a while since we put someone in the A tier. Also, I'm just now realizing there's no one in the D, but I'm sure we'll get around to it. But Kapkan is just such a good trap operator that really has withstood a lot of nerfs, and throughout all the years, I think that he is really still good, and he still proves to be good even in high ranks, which if you're able to be an effective trap operator in high ranks like Kapkan, then I think you deserve to be up there that high. Lesion right now is 100% between A or S tier, and I'm going to put him in the S tier, and I think that is my personal opinion taking over. He's probably my favorite defender to play right now, just an absolute laser of an SMG, and obviously his ability is such a great one to have in such a fast-paced, typical environment nowadays in ranks where it's kind of like a TDM meta. So having an operator like Lesion is fantastic. I think he fits in perfectly over here with Fenrir and Azami, but I definitely understand if you put him in the A tier, but definitely no lower than the A tier for sure. Maestro, I think, has to go B tier. Like, I was really trying to find a way to sneak him into that A tier, but I just don't think it's very fair. I don't think he fits in there with Kapkan or Doc. I think he has to be in the balance category. I mean, it just makes sense. Now, some way, somehow, I do think Melusi belongs up there in the A tier, even through all of those nerfs. I know I've brought it up many times, but she really was nerfed so hard. Like, when she came out, she was probably the best operator in the game, and through some trials and tribulations, she is still up there in that A tier. I see her get played all the time in ranked now. I'm starting to get back into her a little bit, playing her here and there, so I think she's a good one to have as well. Now, Mira, I would say, in a lot of cases, would be S tier, one of the best operators in the game, gets banned a lot, but I think I'm gonna have to go A tier. She is technically situational. Like, there are a lot of objectives, a lot of different instances on maps where you don't really want a Mira, so it's not like an Azami, a Fenrir, a Lesion where you always want one of those operators, because with Mira there are some times where you just don't want one, so I think that brings her down into the A tier. Nonetheless, still very good, still one of the best operators in the game. Mozzie has had a pretty evident fall from grace. I don't think it's really fair to say he's even balanced anymore. I think I'm gonna have to go C tier. I'm sure people will say that I'm doing too much with Mute. I think that he's an S tier operator. I think A tier is almost disrespectful to him, considering how he's been so constant for so long now just in the game, and he still proves to be so good, still a part of the meta, still super powerful loadout, just everything about him really just works, I think he's earned that spot in the S tier. Now, Oryx, right now, I really think Oryx is fine. I think Oryx is balanced. I think B tier makes sense for him. I think I understand C tier, but definitely not higher than the B tier. Pulse is an all-time favorite of mine. It was like the first operator I really got into when I first started playing the game, but right now it hurts to do. But I mean, C tier is really what makes sense. I don't know if anyone's really gonna fight me on that one. I mean, he's in a pretty weak spot right now, so I think C tier is really what makes sense. I know it's really harsh, but I mean, we haven't had a D tier edition yet, and Rook might just have to be it. For some reason, he still gets played quite often when operators like Doc are available, which I think is just very dumb. Doc is better in literally every single way if you're looking for a health operator, and obviously the same loadout, so I don't know where the temptation is to play Rook. Like, there's nothing that Rook does better than Doc, so, and it does make sense. I mean, he is a pretty rough operator right now, so. Now, Sentry, this is probably what you guys have been waiting for, the new defender. Obviously just the recruit rework pretty much, but he is technically a new defender, and I don't really know. I mean, I think he's just balanced. He's definitely not C tier. It's not like he's bad. There's nothing that is bad about him, but it's nothing that's game changing. He doesn't fit in up here. He doesn't obviously fit in up here. So I think he's just kind of a balanced operator. He doesn't change anything. He's just kind of there. I think Smoke is another, pretty balanced operator, kind of boring, anti-entry, and it's whatever. I think he's kind of in a pretty typical spot right now. There's nothing all that crazy about him. I'd never be mad if I saw my teammates picking Smoke, but it's not like it's a defender that changes the entire scope of a round. Now, Solis's nerf, I really do think changed things. I think it brings her down from an S tier to an A tier. No impacts, obviously changing the scanner. Like, it's just things like that really do affect the gameplay, and you'll see it when you play her now. It's not a drastic change, but it's enough where you have to play her differently. You can't play her the same way that you played her before the nerf, and so that really does change things. And obviously, putting her in A tier is not like it's some big hit. She is still one of the best operators in the game, but she's not the best operator in the game anymore. I'm gonna throw Tachanka down there in the D tier. I've said over the years that he is a little bit underrated. I think that people kind of make a meme out of him, obviously, Lord Tachanka, but he does a lot of the same things that like Smoke does, being anti-entry. But right now, I think that Tachanka is probably worse than he's been in a long time, so it's hard to really justify him. He's kind of in a dead-end spot, so I think he's going to fit in down there in the D tier. I don't know how Ubisoft is ever really going to buff him, considering all the rework they did with him, so he might just be stuck down there in the D tier for the rest of his lifetime. Thorn's probably going to have to go in the C tier. Like, she's probably less than balanced. I think she could use a little bit of work. I would understand if you said balanced, I'd get it, but for me personally, I would say that she has to be C tier. Thunderbird's going to go down there in the D tier as well with Tachanka and Rook. Definitely a bottom 3 operator in the game for sure, as you can see visualized by this entire chart. So Thunderbird's definitely an operator that I'm not very happy to see a teammate choose when I'm on defense, so I think that just justifies why she is down here at the bottom of this board. I'm going to put Tub in the A tier. I mean, they did do some work on him to make him balanced, but I think he is still a little bit higher than that. I do think that he's still a very, very powerful operator. There are some people who still want to put him in the S tier, and I do understand that, and there are some people who want to put him in the balanced tier, and I understand that as well. I think a happy medium is the A tier. Valk has been up in this S tier spot for years now. She's been holding strong. I don't think that's really going to change anytime soon. She's just such a fantastic intel operator to have, and I think that she really does deserve that S tier spot with all of these 4 other operators. I'd say Visual is pretty much balanced for what he does. He's another self-serving operator, sort of like Cav, where you're not really bringing much utility to the team, but I would say Visual is definitely a step ahead of Cav, so we're going to put him on the tier above in the B category. Now, Wamai, I'm going to say is S tier, and I may get, a little bit of hate for that, but he's one of my favorite defenders to play right now. He's so good. He is really one of those defenders that has a very strong impact on an entire team, and it can change the outcome of an entire round just, by having a Wamai. And there's not many operators that you could really say have that kind of an impact, but I think he really does, and he has a really strong loadout as well. I think he deserves that spot. Warden, I'm going to put in B. Again, another self-serving operator. I'm not a fan of Warden mains. I really don't think that they bring much to the team, but I can't deny that he is definitely balanced. At his core, he is still a good operator to have, though. I can't deny that, so I think being balanced is perfect. So that is our completed Defender tier list for Year 9 Season 2 Operation New Blood. Let me know what you guys disagree with. I'll try to justify as much as I can down in the comments. And if you missed the Attacker tier list, I'll throw that up on the screen now. Make sure to go check that out. But besides for that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.